Just a quick preface before we start the video. This personal retrospective / mini review is something I want to do after each game that I record in the series. I might continue this after each game that I do, not just Resident Evil. It's just a space for me to reflect on the game in general and my experience playing it. So if you enjoy this kind of thing, let me know if you'd like to see more. After the incredible success of Resident Evil 2 in 2019, they decided to capitalize on that momentum and the engagement from the audience and the hype that was built up around the potential of a third remake. Highly anticipated and looking forward to the game. I was looking at every piece of media that I could see. A couple months prior to the release of Resident Evil 2 Remake, I think one of the leakers or something had said that Resident Evil was potentially going to be like a yearly release, kind of akin to Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed. Now, that's not something I necessarily wanted from the franchise, but I definitely do enjoy all things Resident Evil. So I was kind of looking forward to that. So I wasn't super surprised when there were hints of Resident Evil 3 being made alongside Resident Evil 2. And that was unclear if it was going to be like a DLC add-on or if it's going to be its own game entirely. Obviously, Capcom knew what they were doing, and they anticipated the anticipation of the audience, and they actually updated the RPD demo for Resident Evil 2. Now, if you're outside of the RPD in that main courtyard, you can actually hear Nemesis scream "Stars" somewhere in Raccoon City. After this, obviously, that hype just kind of exploded from there. I remember the expectations were all over the place, kind of unreal after the second remake. But before we move on to the remake and what this video is about, I want to talk about my brief history with Resident Evil 3. I actually didn't play the original too much on original hardware in the past, like I did 2 and a little bit of 1. The most of my experience with the original Resident Evil 3 came from a PS Vita. When I was working at Walmart, I had this PS Vita that I would carry with me almost every day at the going into shift. I had like a little locker I could put it in. I got about an hour lunch on each shift, and I would go into the break room and I would actually play Resident Evil 3 on the PS Vita. And it was honestly a great way to play, just kind of very pocketable. I remember getting a couple looks while I was in the corner playing the game, and I remember just like being chased by Nemesis throughout the streets, and it was freaking me out because it was unlike anything that the previous games had done. I was just as excited to play the Resident Evil 3 remake as I was for the second game's remake, but I just didn't know what to expect. We actually got the teaser released on my birthday that year, late in December, and then slated for a release in April of 2020, just a few weeks after the coronavirus shut down. A lot of people were inside their homes, and Resident Evil fans were anticipating this game. Now, you'll probably notice that there's a little bit of a reoccurrence within this and me taking days off from work, but I think I've taken days off work for almost every major release of the game. First thing I want to say is I loved what I was able to play with the game and what I did experience. There wasn't something that I was like, I hate that, you know. I think that the remake was done relatively well, except they left some stuff out and the game was very short, and I mean very short. On a first playthrough of Resident Evil 2 Remake, I spent about 9 hours taking my time for one scenario, and this one, playing through the entire game the first time, took me 6 hours, and that's it. That's with me taking my time to look at the environment, reading the files, looking for all the Mr. Charlie dolls. 6 hours is what it took me to do that, and it was a little disappointing, and I think a lot of the fans shared in that. Everything was handled reasonably well. I loved what I played. It was just really short. In fact, after I beat the game the first time, I didn't play the game again until 2023, when I started to get all of the achievements in the RE engine Resident Evil games, and then to extend onto the original Resident Evil games. This is where I spent a lot of time with Resident Evil 3 Remake. In this period of trying to get all the achievements, I played it probably 5 or 6 times, and it's really where I started to appreciate the game in general. But I also started to acknowledge some of the flaws that I kind of missed the first time. There are definitely ups and downs with this game. Overall, I did enjoy it, and just a general consensus or thought is that I really loved what I got to play. I just wish there was more. In terms of visuals for the game, it looks fantastic in the RE engine. All of the character model updates look great. I think they're representative of the characters. I know a lot of people were upset about Jill not having that tube top and skirt combo that was in the original game, though I really enjoy the outfit that she has in the remake. I think it's much more modern and I guess sensible. And Carlos looks good. He's got a character overhaul as well. It's got a mop of a hair instead of that weird like part. And he's also just much more likable in general. Nikolai, Mikhail, Tyrone, those guys in the UBCS also saw some overhaul. Um, I think they're portrayed pretty well. The voice actors done great as well. Nemesis is another character that we have to talk about. There's a lot that goes into him as well. In fact, I want us to talk about him specifically here in a second. But first, I want to talk about how Jill's character has kind of evolved from that first game. So in this one, they kind of make it a point to include some of Jill's trauma from the first game, especially in that opening section in the apartment. The game literally opens up with Jill having a nightmare about being infected with the T virus. In reading through those files, you can see that she's really skeptical of everything and she wants to hunt down Umbrella. She's not sure if those T virus cells are dormant within her. Maybe it's a long incubation period. She's not sure, but she wants to take down Umbrella and she's getting ready to do that. But she needs to leave Raccoon City in order to do that. Now, if you're not super familiar with the game, I do encourage you to watch my playthrough that I've done. But basically, the remake is just an escape story. In this game, you play as Joe Valentine trying to escape Raccoon City during the outbreak. Here you also run into the UBCS guys, Carlos, Mikhail, Nikolai, and so on, as they try to rescue civilians through the train system. You're thwarted by several things, including Nikolai and Nemesis, which leads you onto this rabbit trail of trying to find a vaccine in order to secure your route out of Raccoon City via the government. Umbrella, in classic Umbrella style, have sent in a tyrant to destroy evidence of the STARS members and what they've seen at that mansion incident. That includes the only two STARS left in town, which are Brad Vickers and Jill Valentine. Nemesis is there at every turn. In the original game, he was something different that the game had never seen before, where he could literally run and sprint to get you even after you change scenes. I think the design changes that they made just to the way he looks. I mean, his trash bag wrapped like suit with his big heart thing on the outside. I think that looks great. I will say I do miss the staples being in and his eye being covered up with the staples and the scars and this just nasty teeth and everything. I really enjoyed that in the original. I was hoping there was some kind of option to change that in here, though I don't think the way he looks in this remake looks bad at all. I mean, he's got a little bit of a crooked nose and he looks kind of deformed and stuff. I think the teeth looks great as well. The stars scream that he does in this one is, I think, way better here than in the original. And the original was more like a stars kind of thing. And this one, it's like this guttural, beastly scream that he's screaming out when he's chasing you. In the original game, I think he was a little more persistent. A lot of people are under the impression that it was all kind of random when he would show up, and I guess to a degree it would be when he was chasing you through the streets. But I think it's also that way in this game too. Um, but there were more interactions with Nemesis before you actually get to the towards the end of the game. Here they've done away with the live selection feature, which would usually trigger when you encounter Nemesis in the original game. You could either choose to fight him or run away. That's not really present here just because of the kind of game that it is. You know, you can still decide to run away or fight him. I just wish there was more of an option to like clearly make a choice because you could like start to fight him and then run away anyway. But if you made the choice to fight him in the original game, you can't leave or go anywhere until you defeat him by fighting him. That's not so much here. If I decided, yeah, I'm going to try and take him on and start shooting him, but then I'm like, oh, I don't have enough ammo, or I can't do it. I can still run away, try to find a safe room, and get away from him. So there's no clear cut choice in either fighting or running away. I like the updated feel to the game, the way that the momentum and movement is carried over from the Resident Evil 2 remake. They've kept in some of the horror in this game, despite the original game being more action than horror. I think that also applies here. It's just a lot more stuff going on, more explosions, more enemies on screen at once. And of course, you've got Nemesis kind of putting that tension and pressure on you there too. there's obvious vibe differences between Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, and I think that shows here as well. In Resident Evil 2 Remake, you could actually shoot specific parts of the leg, parts of the zombies in order to handicap them. So you could shoot the knees or the legs out, and it would actually dismember those legs. That feature here in Resident Evil 3 is not present. There's actually a dedicated button just for dodging. And if you get what's called a perfect dodge, it'll actually slow down time. If you aim right afterwards, it'll pinpoint on the enemy their weak spots so that you can take a couple shots off before you since you got out of the way, kind of as a reward for doing it correctly and using the feature in general. The game looks great, the streets look great, the enemies look great. There's a lot of that that's carried over from the second game. One thing that they did change, and I think probably in response to fan feedback from the Resident Evil 2 remake, is that there is a lot more of that classic RE music from the original game that is present in this one. I think overall this game is a pretty good game, especially if you enjoyed the RE2 remake. You're probably going to enjoy the RE3 remake as well. If you've only ever played the remakes or the RE Engine title games, you probably are going to enjoy this. A lot of criticism comes from the classic fans, and that was present in RE2 as well. But they've cut a lot of content here. There's a couple sections that are just completely missing entirely. You've got your clock tower sections, the Dead Factory, Jill going into the RPD. They've kind of switched around and had Carlos go instead. The Gravedigger, some of the Nemesis fights. There's a lot that they kind of cut out, and I think a lot of people are upset about that. And I'm not necessarily against changing story stuff for the sake of like a better story, but I think a lot of what they cut out was I think they just cut out too much, especially given how short the game actually ended up being anyway. I think I just wanted more of it. I think a lot of people love the game. They just want more of the game. In fact, there's a mod coming out that is trying to restore the cut content, I think called Last Escape. So I'm definitely looking forward to playing that too. I think also the price point was probably a big concern for a lot of people, myself included. I remember after I finished the game, I was like, man, that's really short. And it almost felt like it could have been entirely just a DLC add-on for the Resident Evil 2 remake. A full price tag for like what was kind of half of a game. I think if they had released this game as DLC, like a premium DLC add-on to Resident Evil 2, or if they had just lowered the price, because I think I would have been a lot happier playing the game if that price tag reflected what you're actually getting. I think $39, $29, $39 for the game would have been a reasonable price to play. Now, I think if you picked it up on sale, either through Xbox, PlayStation, or even on Steam, normally it comes bundled with Resident Evil 2. You can get that bundle for $10, and that will give you both games and the DLC for it. I think that's a great way to play the game. I think some of the pros for the game, combat, the actual gameplay is a lot of fun. The sections look great. I liked playing as Carlos more. The hospital sections with him were really good. The horror in that specific section was really ramped up. It was really tense. Got me a couple times there too. One thing I'll say is that most of fighting Nemesis was fun. I think some of his stuff was just a little too scripted. I wish there were just more moments where he was chasing you or like busting through doors and stuff like that. I think if there was more of that, I probably would have enjoyed fighting against him more. You know, you do still get the option to fight against him, and some of the rewards that it gives you are pretty nice. But of all the times that you can down Nemesis, I think you only get 2 real rewards from him. The rest of it's kind of, you know, like ammo and some other stuff. And speaking on that, I also think fighting him, you could down him way more easily than you could in the original game. I remember it would take an insane amount of ammunition to take him down. Half the time, I never felt like I could do it. In this game, you literally just throw a grenade. One grenade brings him down. And it's kind of disappointing. Once you know that, anytime you run into him, it's kind of a joke. You just throw it and he's down. One moment that they, I think, severely screwed up on, and I wish that they could change, there might even be a mod out there to do it, you know, where she says, next time, take the hint.
Next time, take the fucking hint!
I think that's a good line in general. Probably could have been placed somewhere in one of the other fights. But I think at the end of the game, when she's got that railgun in his mouth, it needs to be, you want stars, I'll give you stars.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
If you have any ideas of what you want me to play next, feel free to leave comments down below. I'm happy to engage. 4 shotgun shells. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh! Ah, crap. Dang it. Oh, God. Oh, no! Crap. Ah, died again. Dang it. Oh, great. Get punched. Oh, dang it. Go, go, go. Don't get locked. Don't stun lock. No stun lock. No stun lock. No stun lock. Ah, damn it. Ah, bro. Ah, God dang it. Ah, dang it. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. God bless you and yours.